Hey guys, it is Kelsey. I know it has been so long since I have done a video. My last video was when Lexi was just, I think, 2 weeks old. And so it has been a long time because she is 3.5 months old now. And I apologize for the background noise. My kids, life as a mom, you can't really get time to yourself. So the reason that I haven't done a video in so long is because a lot of personal things went on in my life right after I made that video, actually right after Christmas. I think it was a couple days after Christmas, and a lot of personal things went down, which really caused me to step away from not so important things and really focus on the personal things going on in my life. And now that things have settled down and not so crazy and hectic going on, I can finally get back to doing some videos. So I do have a lot to update on. There's been a lot of things that been going on with my kids. Lexi mainly. So yeah, mainly Lexi has been the biggest thing that has gone on. She's doing great now, but if you follow me on Instagram, I did post some pictures. She was in the hospital at Primary Children's for 4 days. Basically, it started out not really knowing what was going on. I was really worried because she was still exclusively nursing, and this was about 3 weeks ago. And so she was still nursing. She cut down her nursing time from about 10 to 15 minutes down to 3 to 5 minutes. She started doing that, and then about 20 minutes after she would get done eating, she would start screaming. Her back would arch, her arms and legs would fly everywhere, and then she would turn purple and couldn't get her breath. So I was really worried. It kind of was showing signs of like almost seizure activity, which had me worried. It was because I had seizures when I was a kid. Up until I was 2 years old, I had a seizure probably every week. But with her, she was doing it upwards of 10 times a day, and her crying would last from anywhere between like 10 minutes upward of like 2 hours. So it was crazy. Excuse me. So I mean, we were really worried because it wasn't like her. She went from this normal, happy baby that never cries to this baby who's screaming every, upwards of 10 times a day for as long as 2 hours sometimes, and turning purple multiple times in the process. So I had her at several doctor's appointments the week before she was admitted to the hospital, and her pediatrician didn't know what was going on with her either. She had no ear infection, her lungs sounded great, her heart sounded great. All that kind of, the stuff that they can look at looked perfect. I mean, nothing showed any signs of anything being wrong. I mean, so he was at a loss. So we went home that night, and she got worse. She turned purple multiple times. The crying wasn't just after she ate. It started getting just, even between feeds. And so I called her pediatrician back up, and he had said, just take her up to Primary Children's emergency and let them look at her. See if she, let's run some tests, make sure all that's fine. So we took her up there. They did a chest x-ray, a blood test, as well as a urine test, and all that came back fine. Nothing showed anything there. So they're thinking, well, maybe it's reflux. Maybe she's crying because she's in pain. So they sent us home with the new reflux medicine. She was already on Zantac, and which obviously wasn't helping if that's what it was. They sent us home with a stronger one, and they said if in two days she still isn't getting better or showing improvement, to call your pediatrician. So 4 days later, she still wasn't showing improvement. She was still just as bad, having these episodes, they call them, every so often throughout the day for a long period of time. And so after 4 days, she still wasn't getting better. We said, I called her pediatrician, and I said, hey, I'm going to come back in. Can we do another check on her, make sure her ears and all that stuff is still fine? He said sure. So we bring her back in. I brought her back in about 15 minutes before the office closed, and And we looked at her, everything was still perfectly fine, everything checked out normal. But she was screaming the entire time we were at the doctor's office and turning purple. And the doctor just sat there and was just astounded about how she is, because he knows my kids. I mean, he's been a family doctor. He was my doctor when I was a kid. So, I mean, he knows my kids on more than just, you know, a medical level. I mean, he's been in our family through multiple kids. So, he knew that wasn't her. And I mean, he was just so dumbfounded about, you know, like, what is going on? He had no idea. He called the other pediatrician in that works with him. And even he was like, you know, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. You can tell something's wrong. You can tell she's in pain by her cry. It's not normal crying. That's the one thing we knew. It wasn't normal crying, and it's not normal for her. So they called up Primary Children's, had us take her back in there, back through the emergency. And through the emergency, we did an upper GI, and all that checked out fine. It didn't show any type of reflux whatsoever, but she was still having these crying episodes. So they admitted her that night, and through the next couple days, it was just kind of watching her so they could see what she was doing with her episodes. She's had a couple where she was showing the nurses, and even all the nurses were like, this is crazy. She went through another couple blood tests. What else? Nothing major. I mean, they didn't do anything major other than the blood test. But finally, they had a lactation consultant come in and talk to me because she was not nursing for longer than 5 minutes. So the lactation consultant came in and talked to me, and you know, she had me nurse her in front of her, and you know, she latched fine, all that was good, but she was just nursing for that short amount of time. She'd pop off, wouldn't go back on. 10 minutes later, she'd be screaming, turning purple. And so she didn't know what was going on. So finally, you know, we figured, well, maybe it's my breast milk. Maybe my breast milk is low calorie. She's not getting the calories she needs. Because they think this, because she lost 2 days after we got admitted. Her starting weight, she had lost weight 2 days later. So obviously she wasn't getting something. And with her only nursing, I mean, there's no other way she would have been getting calories except from me. So we tested my breast milk. I gave them 3 breast milk samples. My breast milk came back saying I have high calorie breast milk. Actually, it's higher than the average mother's calorie of breast milk. So I had plenty of calories in my breast milk, which is why they're thinking, well, maybe she's just not nursing long enough to get enough calories for her growing body to support her. So, you know, we tried different ways to get her to nurse longer. It didn't work. She was still doing her episodes and not nursing long enough. So eventually we decided, you know, it might be best to start supplementing her a little bit of formula, which I have nothing against. All 3 of my other kids were formula fed, so it's nothing against formula. So I said, okay, let's try it. So she would nurse, and then I'd supplement about an ounce or 2 afterwards. The following day, she had gained about 4 ounces from the previous day after starting the supplementation. So obviously that was working. So she gained enough weight to be able to go home. So basically what it comes down to is she was declared failure to thrive. So basically she was starving, literally starving, and that was causing her to cry, thinking it's reflux because it was right after she ate. But the thing is, even when she would start crying, she wouldn't latch back on to nurse more. So that's what the weird thing was. So that's what her diagnosis came down to. She is doing great now. We're still supplementing. She is still nursing, but we are supplementing still. And she has grown quite a bit. She's put on a good weight gain. She's probably, I think she's up almost 2 pounds. And so that's great. She's doing awesome. She's sleeping through the night. She is doing fantastic now. And we are all just so thankful that everything turned out okay and wasn't anything more serious than, I mean, failure to thrive is a serious thing, but we were just so worried that it was going to be something wrong internally that would have been hard to fix rather than just giving her some supplements. So thankfully she's doing great. Then the couple days after we got her home from the hospital, we had to end up rushing my oldest son Jackson, who is 6, to the ER because in the middle of the night he woke up and he pretty much stopped breathing. I mean, he couldn't catch his breath, he couldn't talk, he could barely breathe. I mean, you could hear it in him. So I rushed him in the middle of the night a couple days after we got back, and turns out he had croup, and cycled through all three other kids. So all 4 of my kids had croup at the same time. Came to me, I got croup. My husband's got it now. I still have a touch of it. And then after he got out of the hospital, then we started moving. So we are in a new place. So yeah, so it's been a crazy few months, especially just the last month has been insane. And yeah, so it's been wild, and I'm just hoping that things start to settle down now that we are officially moved in. There are still some things that need to be put away and organized, and so once all that gets done, I'll have to do a house tour. Nothing special, it's just a little 3-bedroom townhouse, but we love it. It's been fantastic for our family so far. We've been here about a week, actually probably less than a week, but we love it. And yeah, so there's Jackson has an owie. And so yeah, so it's been crazy, but I want to get back into doing these videos, and maybe even now that once we do get more settled, maybe do a day in the life of me and my 4 kids when my husband's at work. It gets crazy around here, but love every minute of it. So yeah, so that's the update for now. I'm sorry it has been so long. I just had to take that break to get my life back to where I needed it to be before starting this back up. So, and it sounds like Lexi is awake, so I'm gonna have to go get her. So anyway, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please let me know. So I will talk to y'all later. Thanks guys. Bye.